bigger, badder, meaner brother of this vehicle. A Tunguska isn't necessarily as big of a threat to us because it only has 2 cannons. However, those cannons are larger, and it's a bigger threat to air assets because it can have up to 8 missiles on it. Most of the ones we go up against right now, I believe, have 4. 2 on either side of the turret, but they are a much, much bigger threat to air assets because they have cannons with longer range, with a bigger punch, and they have those radar-guided missiles. Now, a Tunguska looks pretty much identical to this as far as a profile. However, the turret will look a little bit different. It has more of your traditional style half-moon radar dish on it, as well as, like I said, only 2 large cannons on it, and you'll see the missile tubes on the outside of those cannons. So on the very extreme flanks of the turret, hits from the Shilka and keep on going about their day. But the Tunguska, they start hitting them with missiles, that's when shit gets shaky. Alright? Any questions?
Negative for Sergeant.
Alright.
Yes, for Sergeant.
Send it, Rainey.
It has a fire 250 rounds. What's the time?
Say again?
What is the reload time for the crew of the Shilk?
Reload time is just under 30 seconds. So it can reload pretty goddamn quickly.
Thank you, First Sergeant.
Alright, Sergeant Myers, keep going.
Next we have the technical name of the object, or the 681-2.
Let's see, I missed a couple there. Bomb, Shadow, and Santana. Thank you guys for the follow.
Very similar to what we saw before the ZSU. It's still got that Conker's missile on top. Instead of the coaxial weapon on it that fires 7.62 rounds, this does indeed fire tank shells. Not entirely sure on the round size on that, but this has a shitload of splash damage essentially.
Hey Cam, I'm doing pretty good, brother. How are you doing?
One of these you can refer to as an MBT, main battle tank. This can be dealt with an AT4, possibly the law. Again, the soft spots on it will be in between.
Is one of those guys, all right? Unless you know for certain that the entire crew has dismounted that vehicle, always treat that thing as a threat until it is a burning pile of fucking wreckage. Right? Too often have we had guys disable a BMP and then some fucking idiot goes walking out in front of it, and guess what? That gunner isn't as big of a bitch as the rest of his buddies, and he starts opening up with that cannon. So, again, always treat a vehicle as a threat unless you know 100% sure that the entire crew is dismounted or it's a flaming pile of fucking wreckage. Alright, you guys understand that?
Yes,
Yes, First Sergeant.
Alright. Now, the last thing I'm going to point out, again, with the AT4s and the laws, if you find yourself in a rifle squad and you're carrying an AT4 or carrying a law and you're within engagement range of a piece of armor that you have gone over here so far, all of these are classified as light to medium armor. Engage the fucking thing. If you are within range to take an accurate shot, take it. Do not sit on your fucking hands and wait for a weapon squad to come bail your ass out. That was one of the most infuriating things during my time as a weapon squad leader, were fucking rifle squads coming back from an operation completely full on AT, and I killed 10 pieces of fucking armor as a squad leader. Do not sit in a fucking hole and wait for update the game title. It was giving me issues trying to go to the live stream page. So yeah, something's going on with YouTube today.
This one does not. 84 heat on the side or rear will destroy it. If you can only engage it from the front, can disable it by mobilizing the truck. That big ass pretty much cannon on the front of it is a tank cannon. that thing will do devastating amount of damage. These things are up there with the top priority to take out. It's got slightly thicker armor that doesn't really translate into game though. Again, 84 law will disable / possibly destroy these. Again, weapons squad can very easily deal with these. Any questions? You guys speaking or I can't hear you?
No for Sergeant. Or no,
No,
Sergeant.
Sergeant.
Alright, roger that. I don't think of anything left. Oh, alright, let's keep moving. Alright. These two Vics here are used for troop transport. The one on the right is the Ural, and the one on the left is a Gaz. Very similar, they can both transport at least a squad. I think the Ural can transport a little bit more. They don't have any armor on them. Small arms, anything that you pretty much carry will punch through the out
engagement range of us. These things are like fucking Christmas to machine gunners. So guys carrying the 240s see these things rolling up, and their faces light up like it's fucking Christmas morning. Because if they have enfilading fire, meaning they can fire right down the fucking line of them, those 240s will punch through a couple of trucks in a line. So if you see these rolling down a road, say you're in a blocking position or something like that, you got some elevation, nice sweet fucking kill lane set up down a road. If a 240 starts lighting troop transports up like this, save your ammunition. Let the 240s do their work. Wait for guys to start trying to jump out the back and mop up what's left. All right?
Yes, for Sergeant.
All right. Sergeant Myers, carry on.
Thank you, First Sergeant. Alright. Keep moving down the line. These are both UAZs, right? If you see one of these, do not call out as a technical. It is not a technical. A technical is like a fucking Toyota Yaris with a 50 cal sellotaped onto it. These are gun trucks. Does everyone understand the difference? These are
Yes,
military vehicles. They're not, you know, some civilian's car who's decided to mount a machine gun on there or something. Again, no fucking armor whatsoever. Small arms fire, you can kill the crew inside. Kill the entire fucking crew of it with one well-placed 40 Mike. Anyone have any questions?
Sergeant, are there transport versions of this?
Yeah, I believe there are transport. We haven't really seen them a lot, but there are unarmed versions of these. Okay.
All right. So this vehicle on my left, that's the one holding the AGS-30. AGS, I'm pretty sure, stands for Automatic Grenade System. Now, AGS-30, fully automatic grenade launcher. The other one, Dishcom, is a 12.7 millimeter, aka 49.9 caliber or some shit. It's a 50 caliber heavy machine gun. Now, common sense would tell you the thing that is throwing 30 millimeter grenades at a fully automatic rate is the bigger threat. So, again, with the school of thought of engaging the bigger threat first, you have an AGS and a Dishcom in the same area, you're going to engage the AGS first. Alright, you guys understand that?
Yes, for Sergeant.
Alright, now to give you guys an idea of how fucking devastating one of those grenade launchers can be. A couple of phases ago, Task Force Bravo was working with the gun trucks, which are our vehicles, are Cougars that we'll be going over here shortly. Now there was a single guy on a
Here, going over the Op4 rotary assets. Right, gents, this is the Mi-24 Hind attack helicopter. Go over to front and center, you can see that it will crew a pilot and a gunner. It has a shitload of weaponry on it. We'll start with the basics. On the front, it does have camera optics that can spot a task force from pretty fucking far away. On either side, it has, believe, Sidewinder missiles, which can do a devastating damage to a task force. The outside, I believe.
Myers are not a fucking Sidewinder. Sidewinder is a goddamn U.S. missile.
Missiles that can hit gun trucks, Cougars we use, as well as just general ground assets. They do a lot of explosive damage.
Not really, because for us, the MBTs are pretty much all the same. Like, the reactive armor doesn't mean dick to us. The reactive armor really only has an effect on air assets, on what mainly only has an effect on Thunder, on whether he can take it out with the gun or not. You know, especially the T-90s, he's not gonna.
If it's on the ground like this, feel free to hit it. 40 Max will do a lot of damage. It's a fucking helicopter. A grenade's gonna do quite a lot of damage to it. Any questions?
Sergeant.
Alright, let's move over to the next one.
Real quick, guys. When Sergeant Myers is talking about using the grenade launcher on these vehicles, the only grenades that are going to do anything to the vehicles is HEDP, high explosive dual purpose. Alright, keep that in mind. Regular HE high explosive isn't going to do dick to a BTR or a gun truck or anything like that. Alright. HEDP is your best friend when it comes to vehicles, because not only can it fucking pierce through the armor sometimes, it'll also help take out wheels and disable vehicles. So just keep that in mind. If you are carrying a thumper, HEDP is needed for vehicles. Carry on, Sergeant Myers.
Thank you, First Sergeant. Yeah, like I said, like First Sergeant said, HEDP, you can take out VIX. If you, your Grenadier loadout will have a mix of HE and HEDP rounds for that exact situation. Alright, next we have the MIAM. A little bit different from the Hind that we saw.
Yeah,
see here, it is
the 240 is not punching through the armor of the Hind. It'll take out the fucking main rotor and the tail rotor, but it's not going through the fucking armor.
Sidewinder missiles on the sides, along with, believe these are guns.
Stand by, Sergeant Myers. Thing you can think of, they can strap to one of these airframes and use it as a weapon system. Alright, so always keep that in mind. Carry on, Sergeant Myers.
Thank you, First Sergeant. I need to work on my vehicle identification. You see on the inside, if you come into the other side, you get a better view. These will fit. Decent number of troops inside.
No, we already went over the Tunguska earlier.
You can see the benches in there are quite large. Gunners on the side pose a fucking massive threat to infantry on the grounds. In general, this thing is just a real nuisance. As with the last one, if it's on the ground, engage it. If it's up in the air, just leave it. We'll have some assets come over and take care of it for us. If you see one of these things land and starts deploying troops, again, it's a helicopter landing. You know, if the troops are getting
shit, they pretty much have. They have those. I forget what they're called now. It's not a rocket pod like that. But there's a dumbfire rocket on rails that they use. That's kind of like the rocket that's on the BMP-1 there. I forget the name of it, but it's a fucking oversized RPG.
Yeah, this is the MIAMT. Very similar to the last one we saw, however, it doesn't have any of those.
No, not yet, Cam. That's what we'll be going over next.
On the side, same specs and everything, carries the same number of troops. This is just another variant of them. There's a ton of variants that Op4 can use. This is a lot less armed, and it's going to be a lot less of a threat to you guys. However, those door gunners can still.
Right, it is not CAS, close air support. Its primary role is reconnaissance. Its secondary role is to kill armor. It kills armor via those missiles that you see under the winglets. Those missiles are Hellfire missiles. Hellfires are one of the greatest weapon systems ever created to dispatch armor, especially the Limas that we have now. Right? They're essentially a fire and forget system in the sense that we can have one of our JTACs lays a target. The Apache can pop up from behind a mountain, fire the Hellfire, and immediately drop back down, never needing to have eyes on that target. That Lima Hellfire will pick up the laser signal and guide itself right into that target, provided that laser stays steady on it. So, in accompaniment to those Hellfire missiles, it also has Hydra missiles, which are in those pods there. They are unguided. However, because of the targeting system in the Apache, they are still incredibly accurate. Now, the variant we use also has 2 times AIM-9 Sidewinders on the end of the winglets. Again, anti-air missiles, so this thing can take out air threats. Lastly, there is the 30mm cannon underneath the nose that can engage targets from beyond 2 kilometers. So the Apache is pretty goddamn devastating when it comes to armament, but again, its primary role is reconnaissance, so the majority of the time it will be sitting 2 to 3 kilometers out there. You guys won't see it. It'll be sitting back behind defilade somewhere behind some mountain. When we do need it, again, it'll pop for it. It provides that via Hellfire missiles and this gun over here on the side. This gun is the GAU-19B. GAU-19 Bravo is one of the greatest fucking weapon systems we've created in the last century. Simply put, it's a 50 caliber fucking minigun, and they are absolutely badass. The United States military has been fitting these things to anything and everything they possibly can, from Little Birds to Blackhawks to Humvees and fucking Cougars. They will devastate shit. So when this thing does come in on cast, you will generally see it flying what is known as MO, Map of the Earth, as low as they can possibly get without fucking running their skids on the ground. So they will try to get in below the fucking treetops. They'll put their tail up and haul ass into the area. Once they get closer to the target, they'll pop up above the trees, do a gun and rocket strafing run, bank off, and get the fuck out of there. Because again, it is not armored at all. So even a lucky fucking AK-47 shot could take this bird down if he hits the pilot or any of the avionics inside. So on the rare occasion you do see one of these things, it's going to be hauling ass in, doing its run, and then getting out. Other than that, you'll never see that this thing is out there. Same with the Apache. You'll never see the Apache. And a lot of guys don't really appreciate either one of these airframes nearly as much as they should, especially the Apache. Even in game, guys have no idea how much work that Apache does, or how much armor. Now, the A-10 Charlie comes outfitted with pretty much any goddamn weapon system you could dream of. It has FFAR rocket pods, AGM-65 Mavericks, 500-pound GBUs, 1,000-pound GBUs, 2,000-pound GBUs, cluster munitions, anti-air missiles. Again, pretty much anything you could think of, we can strap to one of these things. The payload of the A-10 is absolutely fucking mind-boggling, especially considering this is not a supersonic platform. It does not have necessarily a huge speed advantage over anything, but what it does have is 2 incredibly powerful fucking turbofan engines and massive wings. So this thing can take a beating and it can turn on a fucking dime. Now the party piece, if you will, of the A-10 is that thing sticking out of the nose. That is the GAU-8 Avenger. GAU-8 is a 30mm Gatling gun that fires depleted uranium rounds. And yes, the stories are true. This airframe was built around the gun. They knew from day one that they would be using that gun. This plane was designed with the role of close air support in mind. It is the only airframe to ever be designed specifically for close air support, which is why we are still using it today, despite it first rolling off the fucking prototype line in 1975. And they know, as soon as you hear those engines, exactly what airplane it is, because there is no other airframe in the world that sounds like the A-10. I was stationed next to the airbase that had these things in Iraq for 11 months, and I can tell you 100% without a doubt, there is nothing that sounds like the engines on this thing. So when the enemy hears one, they fucking know what it is. So when we call in a gun run from the A-10, it can demoralize the fuck out of the enemy. And we reflect that in the game as well. So don't be surprised if you see this thing roll in and do a gun run, you see the enemy run away, and you hear a bunch of guys cheering around you. You've probably seen videos of guys doing that and shit in real world, you know, cheering when an A10 comes in on a gun run. Guys fucking do it here, because it's pretty goddamn cool to watch. Now, the call sign for the A10 is Thunder. Alright? Any questions on the A10?
Sergeant.
Alright. What we're going to do next is head over to the next area, introduce you guys to two of the other airframes we use, being the Black Hawk and the Chinook, and teach you how to properly mount and dismount those airframes. Now, this is something that has gone over in more detail in air assault school, but we have to teach you the basics of it here because, for all you know, you could graduate OSUT tomorrow and be air assaulting within a couple hours of your graduation. Sergeant Myers, as you guys can probably tell, I've got a bit of a hard-on for the A-10.
If for any reason
We ever deployed to a snow map? Nope, not yet.
A level platform or on level ground, it can be tilted forwards or backwards. Those rotors can get pretty low, and they can get to a point where they can hit you and fucking kill you. Another reason to approach it at 90 degrees, you can see those miniguns on the side. They need to have a good angle. If you're approaching any other angle, you're going to be in the arc of fire of those miniguns, and either mean that the minigun cannot fire because you're in the way, or mean it's going to fire directly in you. So you don't want to block.
Soccer, thank you for the follow.
Especially if you're getting in and out of a hot LZ, you're going to hear those miniguns rattling off, pretty much engaging anything that's a threat to the helicopter. Okay, so you want to always approach the Black Hawk at a 90-degree angle, trying to avoid, or completely avoid being hit by the tail rotor and the forward, the rear rotor. When boarding, the chop leader who
you guys need his mudhead and have the trifecta of dangerous aircraft, yeah.
He will form a file up the bird. You'll be nut to butt.
I just want somebody to put a fucking Blackbird in ArmA, just because.
The truck leader will ask the pilot or whoever is flying it at the time, not the pilot or the assistant pilot, if you are clear to board. Once you've been cleared to board, you guys will load in one at a time. If we are air assaulting,
that kid, thank you for the follow.
This is important to keep hold of that number. You'll only be functional. Also in a combat environment, be sure.
Which that would have been just.
Until it's your turn to get into the bird. So if you're in a combat
it would have been fucking crazy to work there, man. Back then, I mean, even now it'd be crazy to work at Skunk Works, but like to work there and the shit you would have seen and been working on, Jesus Christ.
Loading in to a helicopter in a combat environment is just kind of standing around waiting for your turn to get in.
Oh yeah, the Spirit. Still say the dumbest goddamn name they have ever given a fucking airplane.
As you can see here, this is a representation of a squad loading in. You got fire team on the left, fire team on the right, and you got your squad leader there, letting people know.
Oh, the B1. Okay. No. Actually, no. Yep. Possibly the dumbest name they ever gave an airplane was the fucking Aardvark. Why in the fuck would you name a goddamn plane the Aardvark? Yeah, so you can't all, it's not like, you know, real life where you would, if you got in, you wouldn't just sit in the first seat you see, you know, you'd move as far in as you possibly can, you know, to let, you know, seat furthest away so then the person can sit next to you and so forth. Unfortunately in ArmA, people load in, they tend to take the closest seat, and so then you do have to split your squad up into either sides. That's just ArmA being ArmA.
Also, do not cross behind the helicopter.
Yep.
Do not cross behind the helicopter, always cross in front of the helicopter, out of reach of the rotor blades.
Yeah, for any reason, if you need to swap sides, you're out. Once all three of you are out, your team leader, you know, will then call to the squad leader that his team is out. Same as the other squad, the other team, and then the squad can call up a platoon that they're all out, and that lets the Black Hawk pilots know that, you know, they're clear to get the fuck out of there. The more time this thing spends on ground, the more danger it's in. So you want to make sure you get out and you stay in contact and let your squad leader know that you're all out.
Thoughts on the Army's ICSR program? I am not familiar with the program you're talking about.
So what this means is,
What is the
you can see
ICSR?
these guys are still under the rotors right there, and they're prone just in case, you know.
Air Museum has a
the chop has to tilt
B-52
over,
on display. Nice.
For whatever reason.
That's
Further out you
what
go,
Caldwell,
watch you
my
get hit by-
former assistant instructor, he just had to go to reserves because they're deploying over to Syria.
Anyone got any
But
questions
that's
about
what
dismount procedure?
his
And we'll go
his
through
air
the
wing
background
is
actually
his
before we take
B-52s.
questions.
He maintenances the
These
communications
three guys
and
are each covering,
jamming system, I believe, on it. Something along those lines. Something to do with the communication and shit. But that's what he works on, is the
one guy
B-52s.
here who's facing pretty much the rear of the chopper. He's grabbed the rear security. Move around the other sides. As you can see here, if you were ever moving around it, you don't want to be, you know, where we are now. You want to be giving it a much wider berth. If you ever do need to walk around a Black Hawk. As you can see, these guys here are pulling.
Oh, okay, the searching for the new rifle, the IAR or whatever. 7.62 will still rip right through a person not wearing body armor or anything like that, obviously. But the 7.62 just carries so much more fucking kinetic energy.
Same as the Black Hawk call sign. It is a troop and
Not as high a fucking
combat
velocity,
vehicle
but
to see
way more
6
kinetic
individuals,
energy.
including two door gunners, has the same guns as the Black Hawk on either side. So normally you would be able to fit easily 2 squads in here plus some HQ elements. If we were ever to air assault in as a platoon, we would take 2 of these. That would easily get the entire platoon in plus the HQ element. Take a look here. So when you're boarding the Chinook, as you can see, a lot different to the Black Hawk. You want to approach it from a 45-degree angle to the rear to avoid being hit by the main rotor and the engine wash. You can see those 2 big tubes up there are engines.
Yes and no. I mean,
so you can see here these guys are approaching from a 45-degree angle. Very similar, except this is just one entire squad.
when it comes to, as far as like the weight wise, it's not gonna be, it's nominal. I mean, there's, if any of you guys watched that Jocko podcast that he did with the guy that was a weapons squad leader, the dude went out there carrying 2,000 rounds for the 240s in his squad. 2,000 rounds. I mean, granted, the dude was a meat fucking mountain, but still, 2,000 rounds of 7.62. That's a lot of fuck you up. And it was the same for, you know, guys in Vietnam era carrying the 60. You know, they were carrying a couple thousand rounds. And that was through the fucking jungle. Well, he's dealing with back and knee problems. Not really, because he got blowed the fuck up by an IED and he doesn't have any knees or elbows now. He's a quadruple amputee.
Disembarking, you should push about 15 to 20 meters away.
But he's a total fucking badass.
So you want to get out 15, 20 meters.
Yeah, that's why I laugh at guys that, like, there was at one point guys in the unit that said we should carry less ammo to be more realistic because we're light infantry. It's like, you have absolutely no military experience at all. You have never been in a operational combat situation. Don't try and tell me what is realistic, because light infantry, like the meme says, is anything but light. Those guys go out with hundreds of pounds of gear on them.
Has at least one man facing down the side of the helicopter, so you have all.
Yeah, exactly. Your fucking gear load quite often fucking outweighs you.
Or the letter U for uniform type of thing. When you guys get practice with air assault school, you'll do this and it'll become a lot clearer.
Going pretty good so far, Telroot.
Alright, next we'll go over. We'll move over. So that would be a crescent dismount type of thing. As you can see there, like I said, 45 degrees enter the helicopter. For the Black Hawks, 90 degrees. Right, next down here you can see that crescent formation, but in terms of a squad, instead of the 3 squads, this is 1 squad. So as you can see, you've got each guy covering a sector, your squad leader, your medic in the center, then you've got the 2 riflemen.
What we're going to go over now is our ground vehicles, or our gun trucks, as they're generally referred to. Now, these gun trucks, these ones are Cougars. These are 6x6 trucks. Oftentimes you'll hear guys just simply refer to them as MRAPs. While that is correct, it's also somewhat incorrect. All of the trucks we use are designated as MRAPs. MRAP is a vehicle classification, not the name of the vehicle. So these ones you see around you here, these big 6-wheel ones, these are Cougars. The one you see directly behind you there with that big tube thing on the back, that's an RG. That's a GCV, ground command vehicle. That big tube houses a camera with thermal and night vision capabilities that's on a periscope. So there is a difference between the vehicles. The unarmed ones, or the GCVs, are RG33s, RG32s, stuff like that. The big trucks are Cougars. The only Cougars we use are the 6xs. We don't use the 4xs because they're too small. The Cougars, the 6xs, we can fit a full squad inside of them, which is 10 guys. So we use those. Now the Cougars have two different variants when it comes to armament. There is the M250 cal and the Mark 19 40mm grenade launcher. Now we use both of them. The M2 is used a little bit more because the Mark 19, we have to be very careful with it. Obviously, you're throwing a 40mm HE round out there. We can't use. Is a somewhat recent design. Well, I guess it's not recent anymore, but in military terms, it's recent. The MRAP is a direct result of our second fucking engagement in the sandbox. When we got there, at first, we were using fucking typical Humvees. Unarmored, flat-bottomed, great for crossing terrain. Not so great when somebody sets off a fucking mortar shell underneath one. So it was very quickly found that that flat bottom that is so great on the Humvees for traversing terrain was causing all of the explosive forces from IEDs to go up and inside of the passenger cabin. So the military set out to find a new vehicle and put out a contract for a vehicle that could withstand blasts from underneath as well as RPG hits from the sides. And the MRAP was born. Now the MRAP, the main distinctive feature, if you will, is the hull of the vehicle itself. Now it has a V-shaped hull, right? So the bottom of the vehicle is in a V, much like if you look at the bottom of a boat, right? It's kind of like that. Reason for that being is if some fucking ass bag sets off a mortar shell underneath your truck, that explosive force gets pushed up and away from the vehicle rather than into the passenger cabin. Now, that does not mean these things are fucking bomb-proof. Right? You set off a 155. So an RPG isn't used just to blow things up, if you will. It does blow shit up, but that breaching charge isn't to make things explode. It's to open a hole for the core that's inside that round. That core is what does the damage to vehicles. That is what pierces through armor. So that initial charge blows a hole or gets rid of the initial reactive armor, if there is any, and that core can now hit the steel and melt through it. So what the RPG cages do is when that RPG is fired at one of these trucks, that tip hits the cage and explodes on the cage rather than in the side of the vehicle. So now that core has to burn through all of the outer armor on that vehicle rather than the tip hitting it, exploding, making a big hole in the armor, and then the core just being able to melt through the skin of the truck. All right. Now, that being said, none of that's simulated in game. All right. That's just to tell you guys, so you guys understand why they're there. Everything that's on these vehicles is modeled from the real world. Not everything is simulated, however. So these things can still take a beating in game. They can take multiple RPGs, but sometimes ArmA be ArmA, and it can also take a single fucking AK-47 round to the grill and kill the truck. So it's kind of luck of the draw sometimes. Now the other distinctive feature that we can now simulate in game with these trucks simulate that in game. We can actually turn a Duke on in the truck and it will jam IEDs. But again, not all IEDs are remote detonated, especially after they figured out that the Dukes shut down cell phones. They use pressure plates. Pressure plates, the only way to get around those is to send up an engineer, find the fucking thing, dig it up, and disarm it, which we don't have EOD. So for us, it's a matter of evade. We just go around them. There's nothing else we can do. Now, with working with these trucks, when we are going to convoy somewhere, one squad is going to be assigned in each truck. Sometimes we will split it up and a squad will take 2 trucks, but majority of the time it's 1 squad per truck. Now, there will be 1 fire team that's responsible for the truck and 1 fire team that solely dismounts. That's all they do. Now, the fire team that's responsible for the truck, that's what we're going to mostly be going over here, because the other team that just sits in the back, there isn't much to go over. You get the fuck out the truck when you're told to get out the truck. That's it. Now, the team that's responsible for the vehicle itself, as far as who goes where in the vehicle, the rifleman is the driver. The grenadier is the gunner. The team leader will generally sit shotgun, and the AR will sit in the back. Now, the rifleman who's going to be driving, you're going to know ahead of time what type of vehicle you're going to be taking. What orc is the only one you ever set to speakers. However, there is a caveat to that. If you have a command element riding with you for some reason, you will not set your radio to speakers, because they're already going to have their radio set to 5.0, and that shit echoing can cause problems. So, if you have a command element in your truck, don't set it to speakers, but you're going to know well ahead of time if you are going to have a command element in there. So, you'll set your radio to 5.0, turn the speakers on, and then you'll do your radio check, just like you do your radio checks like we taught you on day 1. However, your calling station is not going to be your name or your team name. It's your vehicle. Or you're identified by your vehicle number in the convoy. So your calling station is going to be, if you're the 3rd Vic in the convoy, you're Vic 3. So you're going to come over 5.0 and say, this is Vic 3, radio check, frequency 5.0, over. Somebody will respond back to you, Lima Charlie, frequency 5.0, over, solid copy, out. And then you're good to go. You hurry up and wait for everyone to get loaded into the truck. Now, the grenadier, generally going to be the 2nd guy in the truck. You want him up on the gun as quick as you possibly can. And again, he also has a long-range radio. Both of you can set your radio to 5.0. That's perfectly fine. But only one of you can set the radio to speakers. So that comes down to the grenadier and the rifleman deciding which one of them is going to set their radio to speakers, because you can't do both, because it'll fucking blow somebody's eardrums out. Now, so the task force commander will come across the convoy net and give the order to roll. Generally be something along the lines of convoy is Oscar Mike or something like that. Oscar Mike meaning on the move. Now, as I said, you use Whiskey Alpha Sierra Delta to move these trucks. Generally, the convoy commander will tell you to set a speed limit of a certain speed. Now, you do this by getting the vehicle up to that speed and hitting the delete key on your keyboard. That will set the speed limiter. That is not a cruise control, right? It is simply a speed limiter, meaning it will not allow the vehicle to go above that speed. You still have to hold down whiskey to fucking move the truck. So generally, convoy commander is going to come over convoy net, say something along the lines of, convoy is Oscar Mike, set speed limit of 50 kph. You'll start rolling, you'll get the truck up to 50 kph and set the speed limiter. All right. And we'll use different speeds for different areas. If we're in a large open area, we might bump it up to 60, 65 kph is about the maximum I'll ever go. Because believe it or not, a 20-foot tall 5-ton truck doesn't handle very well. So you don't want to go very fucking fast. Generally moving through a town, we'll drop it down to 20, 25 kph, maybe even a little bit slower. Generally, by default, I always just go with 50 kph because that's what we traveled at when, as soon as we got off the base and onto the road, we would move at 50. Now, once you are rolling, like I said, lead Vic, last Vic, call stuff out. That doesn't mean the other Vics aren't allowed to say anything. All right, if your gunner is working the radio and he sees movement in his sector, then he needs to call that shit out on convoy net. Now, when it comes to sectors, as far as where the guns are covering and so on, lead Vic, that gun is always going to be pointed direct forward. His sector is the front 180 degrees. He never leaves that 180 degrees. Second Vic is either going to face left or right. Everybody else is going to base their sector off of that second Vic. So if that second Vic has his gun facing 9 o'clock, third Vic is going to have his gun facing 3 o'clock. And back and forth all the way down the convoy to the last Vic. Their gun is going to be pointed to the rear. They're responsible for the rear 180. And their gun never leaves that rear 180. All right? Very simple reason for this. Lead Vic and the last Vic in a convoy are the two that are in the most danger. All right? When you ambush a convoy, you take out the lead Vic and the last Vic, create a kill box. All right? So if an ambush happens, targets are going to present themselves most likely to the lead Vic and the last Vic first. So they need to maintain that front and rear 180 degree sector. Now that being said, if a convoy is ambushed, we do not stop in an ambush. Stop these trucks for more than a few seconds, we herringbone. Now we herringbone based upon the lead Vic as far as who goes where. So if the lead Vic pulls off to the right like that, second Vic is going to pull off to the left, third is going to pull off to the right, back and forth all the way down. All right, pretty damn simple. Now when we herringbone, we are going to do one of 3 different types of dismounts, either a soft dismount, combat dismount, or a full dismount. Soft dismount is the bare minimum. Anytime we stop these trucks for more than a few seconds, you get the fuck out of the truck. If you're anybody but the driver and the gunner. All right, so a soft dismount, everybody but the driver and the gunner gets out. Again, anytime we stop these trucks for more than a few seconds, you get out. Do not wait for someone to tell you get out of the truck. Take the initiative and get out yourself. All right. Reason for that being, as you can see, these things are big. They are gigantic fucking bullet magnets, and you aren't doing dick all sitting in the back of it. So if we're stopped, you may as well get out of the truck and pull security. Now in a combat dismount, everybody but the gunner gets out of the truck. Combat dismount, as common sense would make you think, means you're in combat, you're engaged. All right, so the truck isn't moving. Get the rifleman out, get another rifle in the fight. However, even in a combat dismount, that rifleman needs to stay close to that vehicle truck so that the enemy can't get it. But we never, ever leave an armed vehicle unattended. All right, you guys tracking on that?
Yes, for Sergeant.
All right. Now, when we herringbone, as you can see down there, notice they're off the road, or at least close to being off the road. When you herringbone and dismount, there's one important thing to keep in your mind. Do not be the chicken. Do not cross the fucking road. The only people that have clearance to cross the fucking road are weapons squad members. Reason they're special is because they're going to set up 240s on either side of the road. So if a convoy traveling down this makeshift road is engaged from the front by infantry at, say, a roadblock, we're going to herringbone, pull the trucks off. The lead 2 trucks are going to start engaging with their weapon systems on top of the vehicles. Obviously, the trucks behind them can't engage because there's other trucks in the way. Now, once they're engaging and everybody's dismounting, the weapon squad is going to set up 240s on the rails. Rails being the edge of the road. They're going to get down prone in the road if they can, and they're going to start fucking laying waste to whatever is down the road with those 240s. So the 240s in combination with the 50 cal and the Mark 19 on the lead vehicles is going to cause a fuck ton of damage to anything that is in front of that convoy. with the exception of heavy armor. And we have had that happen before. Rolling down the road in a convoy, and here is pretty much it when it comes to convoy operations. Sergeant Myers, anything you would like to touch on?
Spacings when you dismount first, Sergeant.
Go ahead and go over it.
Alright, if you guys ever get called for a soft dismount, I know if you're on the side of a road there may not be a whole lot of cover, but do not
I always
always
forget to
just
go over
gallop
fucking
around
spacing
the
because
back
it's
end
like
of the gun truck and
so
use it as
goddamn
cover.
natural for me when I get
And
out
the
of the
gun
truck
gets
to
hit
get the
by
fuck
anything,
away
it
from the
starts
truck.
to explode, an RPG round hits it, something fucking heavy
Yeah,
hits
play
it,
catch with a
all of you
recoilless
guys
rifle.
behind it, pretty much sitting next
It
to
is
it,
not
looking
a
off
fun
top.
game to play.
So make sure when you do dismount, have your ARs, your swords maybe taking the
I
cover.
wish I
and
had
the rest of you
fucking
to spread the
video
fuck
of
out.
that. I
Do not
think
always gather around the back of it. I know
I think
it's a
Heckman's
soft
video
piece of
caught
metal
a
between you and
little
the
bit of
enemy,
it, but
it's more
I wish I
dangerous
had
when you sit
video
behind it.
of him hopping out of the fucking truck and getting into the center of the road. Alright, so what we're going to do next is I'm going to move us back to the staging area, and we're going to get the mount course loaded so I can very quickly take you guys through some very basic mount procedures and breaching and clearing of buildings. So stand by for a second. Yeah, I don't see him replacing the AT4 with it. It's too large. I mean, it's obviously a hell of a lot lighter, but it's just too big. It can't fill the same requirements of the law or the AT4. Yeah, like I can see him giving them to weapons squads, obviously, but not to the rifle squads. It's just too big and cumbersome, too big of rounds and shit. The AT4, they can just fucking, they can carry 3 or 4 fucking AT4s in a truck, fire it, and just toss it on the ground. Alright, while we're waiting for the course to be open, or to be loaded up, I'm going to give you guys a quick 5 minutes to grab something to drink, take a piss, do whatever the fuck it is you got to do, and then once the course is loaded, we'll head out there.
Thank you, First Sergeant.
Burst shit with, oh, what the hell was that failed fucking gun they did? I remember seeing it in fucking Battlefield 4. It's like a 20 mil or a 25 mil fucking rifle, basically. But it had like smart munitions, airburst and shit. Can't remember the fucking name of that thing. Yeah, X68 maybe, something like that. Like it was X for, it had the X in there for experimental. But yeah, I think that was the first time I seen airburst besides, you know, obvious like artillery and, you know, shit like that. But like as far as like handheld munitions, that was the first time I had seen airburst when they were developing that thing. Fuck, way back in the day. Well, actually, they had airburst rounds for the, what was the predecessor to the 203? But that might have been the M68. Can't remember the exact name of it, but it was the predecessor. The 203 and that were basically competing for the contract at the same time, and the 203 ended up winning out, but they had airburst munitions for it. But that was like Vietnam era.
I'm back.
All right. We got. All right. Looks like we're good now. All right. Come on over here. All right. So, when we're in a MOUT environment, which again, MOUT stands for Military Operations on Urban Terrain. MOUT is hands down the most dangerous thing that we do because a target can present itself all over the fucking place. If you look, you don't really have a great eye of it from here because of all the M walls. But if you kind of look into the little makeshift town we got down there, there's all those windows, doorways, entryways, all kinds of places a target can present itself. That makes MOUT incredibly difficult because there's so many things you have to cover at one time. So when we move through a MOUT environment, we tend to move, as you see the guys here, stacked up in a file. Generally, when we're traveling, we will spread that out a little bit so guys aren't going to be necessarily right nut to butt like this. And also, everybody's going to be standing up. That being said, if a target presents itself to the front or to the rear, because the buildings aren't large enough to warrant a 4-man breach, but if you do a 4-man breach, number 1 man and the number 2 man go opposite ways in the door. So if the number 1 man goes left and number 2 goes right, then the number 3 man also goes left. Well, if you look at where they are in the stack, number 1 man is the rifleman, number 3 man is the grenadier, your natural buddy team. Number 2 man is the team leader, last man is the automatic rifleman, your other natural buddy team. So that's the reason the stack is set up like that, so your buddy teams end up on the same side of the room. But again, that's not set in stone, and you'll learn very quickly when it comes to maneuvering in MOUT and breaching buildings, you need to be very fucking fluid. Your buddy teams are going to change up, you guys are going to move around the room, and you basically just work with whoever you're with, and that's where training comes into play. And this is something you guys are going to train a lot on, right? Because what we're going over here is the absolute bare bones fucking minimum when it comes to MOUT. You guys are going to train for this your entire time you're in the unit, right? There are guys that train their entire lives on CQC, and they still continue to train on it. It is not a skill that you master. It's just a skill you get better at, all right? Now, I was lucky enough, I was able to train for weeks with one of the best guys in the fucking world at it. And I can tell you, in the real world, it works a whole hell of a lot smoother. I could throw his aim off, alright? And I know that may sound fucking stupid, but when Murphy attacks, it will fuck you up every time, alright? Either one of you have any idea who Murphy is?
Yes, First Sergeant,
That's what?
Murphy's Law.
Exactly. Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And believe me, Murphy will attack you when you least fucking expect it. So, again, that's a real world way of doing it. Unfortunately, we can't do that in game. We can't reach back and fucking slap our buddy's leg. So we have to rely on verbal commands, which in real world you don't do. Because the more you verbally say things, the more they're going to know where you're at. Once you're in the room and you've gone loud, then it's a little bit different. You can start yelling and screaming and shit. And sometimes you actually do want to straight up yell and scream, not only to get your communication across, but also to scare the fuck out of the enemy. But in ArmA, we have to rely on verbal commands. So one of the biggest things when in MOUT or breaching is to maintain your communication. Constantly be talking, calling out what you're seeing, what you're doing, what you're engaging, so on and so forth. Call out everything, all right? Even if you don't think it's necessarily relevant information, call it out, all right? 1, it lets us know you're still alive. 2, it allows us to paint a better picture of our situation, Or situational awareness in a mount situation is the most important thing, right? Having good situational awareness from you, you're not going to sit there and flag them, right? Flagging means pointing your weapon at a friendly. So you're not going to want to flag the shit out of friendlies. So what are you going to do? Well, most buildings, or a lot of buildings, have second stories, have balconies, have rooftops. So you cover above the guys across from you while you're moving down the road. Point mans cover the front. Rest of the file covers above the guys across from them. The guys across from you are covering above you, because obviously you don't have an angle on second story windows above you, but the guys across the street from you do. So you cover your buddies across the street. Now once you come to an LDA, remember we went over a danger crossing on day 2. However, this doorway or this entryway to this walled compound would be an LDA. All right. If this house wasn't here, there could be a machine gun nest set up where that house is at. Now, the guys on this side of the road, where we are now, could stop right where they are and have perfect cover from that machine gun. The guys on the other side of the road could then pie the opening. Now, pieing the opening is a way of getting a look beyond the threshold of a door, an opening, whatever, while exposing as little of your body as possible. All right. So if we were to pie this opening from this side, it would look something along the lines of this. So you're just moving out. Right. Now, lethal breach would be to chuck a frag in there, hope the frag kills them, and then breach in. Non-lethal would be to throw a flash in there, hope the flash blinds them, and then breach in there. All right, so using one of those two instead of just breaching in there, running in there, fucking guns blazing, is going to work out a hell of a lot better for you. That being said, when it comes to throwing a frag, right, the guy that's on the other side of the road that just pied this, he's going to provide you with as much information as he possibly can as far as what is in this area. So if all he's seen was a machine gun emplacement, he's going to relay to you on the other side of the road, you got a single machine gun center of the compound, 20 meters from the opening. All right, so now these guys know, all right, 20 meters from this wall we're on, there's a machine gun right in the center of the compound. So that will help them dictate where they're going to throw that grenade. However, if he were to relay back, there's a machine gun, center of the compound, 20 meters from the entry. You got civilians on the right side or the left side of the machine gun bunker. Now you know, shit, there's civilians in the area. You can't throw a frag in there. That's where a flashbang comes into play. Now, if he didn't see any civilians, but there's a known civilian presence within the town, we still can't throw a flash in there. Or can't throw a frag in there, because there could potentially be a civilian within that area, and we don't know. So we'll use a flash. That's why you call last man set, because if I'm the point man and you're the third guy in line, but you're the last guy, and you say 3 set, I'm still sitting there waiting. I'm not doing dick until I hear last man set. All right, so make sure if you're the last guy in file, you call last man set. Now, generally, someone's going to pie the opening before you set. All right, so the point man will often do exactly what you've seen me do over here. As you guys are getting set up in the file, he'll pie the opening. He'll lean way out here, get out here from the door, pie the opening, and stop right about here, and then fall back. Now, the reason he stops right about here, you never cross the threshold of a door if you don't have to. All right. Sometimes you will have to cross that threshold, but if at all possible, you don't cross the threshold of a door. All right. Reason for that being, either one of you know what the nickname is for a door?
Fatal funnel for Sergeant.
Fatal funnel. All right. It's called the fatal funnel because every fucking bullet inside that area is about to funnel out that door. So you don't cross the threshold if you don't absolutely have to. Now, if you are pieing this opening and you get to say here and you see a target, your reaction should be exactly this. Engage whilst you're falling back. Alright? You do not stand out here, engage the guy, and just stay standing here engaging him. Alright? Once you start firing rounds within that compound or within that room, that now allows you to dictate how you're going to breach. You know you're not going to do just a basic breach. You know there's an enemy presence, so you're at bare minimum going to flash it and then breach. Now once you get the call to breach from your team leader, if it's just a basic breach, the team leader will call breach. When he calls breach, everybody will pick up their sector. So the guys you see here are going to drop their sector and turn and face forward. When the team leader calls breach, that does not mean everybody starts running in the fucking room. That is him letting everybody in the team know we're breaching. Drop your sector, face front. Once he calls breach, then the point man now has all the control. He is the one that dictates what that stack is going to do. Once that point man hears breach, he'll call breaching and then what direction he's going. So he'll say breaching, going right. And then he'll start moving. He does not start running into the fucking room while he's saying breaching. All right, you call breaching, going right, pause, and then go. Now for this guy, if he was breaching on point here and he went right, he would be doing what's called a button hook. All right, which is generally the best fucking idea because where he's currently sitting, he's got a pretty good view into the left side of this compound, so on and so forth. All right. Now, when they come in, if I were the number one man coming in here and I button hooked around this corner, while I'm coming around here, I am very quickly in a split second scanning that entire area in front of me. And this has happened to me just a couple weeks ago where I breached a building, and when I came in and got to about here, there was a target right in front of me. Now, most guys' immediate reaction is to freeze and engage that target. That is the dumbest fucking thing you can do. Because especially if you're breaching a house with a door that size in it, and you stop, you've now blocked that door. And you've got 3 other dudes surprise butt fucking you because you're stopped dead in a doorway. So, when you're breaching, and you do that quick scan, if you find a target in your sector while you're moving across, you quickly engage it while you're moving. Right? You push through the contact. And I should point out, anytime we're breaching buildings or compounds or so on, hit Foxtrot, go to the fun switch. Go to full auto. Alright? So, if you're moving, see a guy in that doorway, I would scan, hit that guy, keep moving. Now, once you get into the actual compound itself, as a corner guy, your first responsibility is the near corner. Alright, that's the corner on your breach wall. So you hit that near corner, see if there's anything there. Nothing there, now far corner. While you're moving down the entry wall. Alright, you do not stop moving. Notice that neither the number 4 or the number 3 man move all the way down the entry wall. Alright, they're about midway down. They stop before they get to the corner guy because you don't want to be right on top of each other. Because if somebody fucking starts engaging or throws a frag or whatever, you at least want a little bit of fucking space in between you. Now, as the corner guys, when I hit this corner, clear my far corner, scan across, clear the center of the room, I'm now going to do another sweep. That secondary sweep is where I'm going to check the hides. So in this exact situation, I would be looking in that window right there. I would be looking at that doorway if it was open. I would be looking at that next window down along the side of the building until I got back to the far corner along the axis of this wall that I'm on with my right shoulder. Once I got back to that far corner, I would then call my side clear if there was no threat. So I would call right clear. Left corner guy would do the exact same and call left clear. The corner guys are the only ones that call the room clear. Now, whoever calls the room or calls their side clear. Whoever calls their side clear last calls the room clear. So if that guy over on the left corner, the number 2 man, called left clear, and then I called right clear, I would call the room clear. Now, the thing to note here is if this was a room, and say that little house there wasn't a house, or actually say this was a walled compound, that house wasn't a house, that was a car, all right, a burned up car sitting in the center of a walled compound, was already up to here by the time that number 3 man started moving. And this guy decides to just move right through the center of the room to get up to him. Now, if a target were to present itself in between, so come out of that door there, the guys over there can't engage. I'm in the way, being in the center of the room. There's a high likelihood they could hit me, and vice versa. Alright, so we move along the walls. Now, the other train of thought of that is, and this is the way we were taught to do it, is you move online with each other. Unfortunately, you can't really do that in ArmA. A, because most rooms aren't big enough, and some compounds are, but B, it's incredibly hard to keep yourself online with guys in ArmA, because again, you're using WAS and D to move your character around. But essentially, the way that would work is these guys would just push direct forward from where they're currently standing in a horizontal line, right? So that everybody has overlapping fields of fire. So if this was a walled compound and there was a car sitting in it, these guys push forward on line. The 2 inside guys, so the number 3 and the number 4 guy, are going to be the ones to clear the actual car. So when they get up to the car, at the same time, the number 3 and the number 4 guy are going to pivot around the end of that car and both be sitting there basically looking at each other. You know, in case there is any target there. If a target presents itself before they were to get to that car, all 4 rifles can engage that target as soon as... What I want to point out is you can see it there, how he's stacked. And if I were stacked up on this wall, what is the thing you notice about where we are stacked up?
You're back
You're
in the
not
opening
right on
for
the
a search.
corner.
There you go. A good foot or so back from the threshold of the entryway. Alright? Pretty simple reasoning for that. If you're fucking stacked up like this, and you got your barrel sticking out there beyond the threshold, it's going to be pretty goddamn easy to know that you're coming and know exactly where you are. So if an enemy was sitting in that house, he could easily open the front door, chuck a grenade at it, right here to this entryway, and we're all fucked. Alright? So if you back up here and stack up, he's not going to know that you're here. Hopefully. Granted, again, ArmA being ArmA, we have to use voice commands to relay stuff, so you could potentially be heard if someone is operating that AI. But that being said, in real world, they shouldn't be able to know you're here unless they can catch your shadow or something like that, if you're really fucking unlucky. But that being said, once you stack up like this, you always stack up a little bit back from the threshold. You don't want to over-penetrate the opening, which is how we were taught it. So basically, you think of that rifle as your dick. You would not put your fucking dick in that opening. Don't put your... On this near side, wants to engage him. He's got to come to a point here where the point man can drop him. Alright, you guys tracking on that?
Yes, for Sergeant.
Alright. Alright, one last chance. Any last minute questions about anything that we have covered today?
What would be the procedure on actually clearing this particular compound with the building in the middle of it for Sergeant?
Alright, so the way this would be done... Now, if you guys come back in here real quick. Alright, so... This... You can see a full squad is here, basically. You have 2 fire teams. You have 1 fire team stacked up on the building, 1 fire team along the wall there. Alright, so the way this would work. First fire team, say the one that was stacked up on that wall, which you don't see outside there, they would come in and breach and hit these entry walls of the compound itself. Those are the guys you see right now. Now, once they have this front face secured, they would call in the other team, the breach team. Breach team would come in, stack up on this building. Once they're stacked up, they'll breach this building. Once they breach the building, The other team will then push to the back side of the building and clear the back side so that they're all somewhat moving online with each other, the entire squad, because these guys are moving through the building, the other team are moving through the outside of the building. All right, you guys tracking on that?
Yes.
So assessing the situation, just keep your situational awareness up. If these guys have gone inside the building, and even if they haven't called it on comms, just, go with it. If people make mistakes all the time, especially when you're breaching and clearing compounds, so a lot of this is visual as well. And that's probably as close to real life as you can get, is just visually looking at what someone's doing. Kind of get a feel for the situation. But yeah, big thing that I've seen is a lot of people forget about the rear of buildings and the back doors, and a lot of Op4 have popped out the back door and come around the corners and surprise people.
Yeah. Now, the other thing to keep in mind here, when we breach a building, so on, move through it, clear it, when we get ready to come out of a building, before you come out, always call out the number of guys that are in the room that are coming out. All right, so if you got a full team in there, you say 4 friendlies coming out, and then you step out. Now, the way it works in real world is a call and response. You say 4 friendlies coming out, and you don't move a fucking inch until somebody says come out. Once they say come out, then you go through the door and come out of the building. In ArmA, guys aren't necessarily in range because sometimes you'll have, in a squad, you'll have each team clearing a different building, which isn't the way it's really done. But, it is what it is. So, still always be in the habit of calling out how many friendlies you got coming out of the building. Once you come out of the building, somebody in the team with green spray paint will tag the building to let everybody in the area know that building is clear. Fumble fuck. Just stay where you are. Lastly, if you get hit when you breach a room, if you take a round to the knee or take a round to the vest and it drops you, stay on the ground. Do not immediately stand back up. If you do, you could be standing back up right into the line of fire. All right? You stay on the ground until someone tells you to stand up. All right? You guys understand that?
Yes.
Yes, for Sergeant.
All right. Now that's going to be it for your guys' training on this. I wish we had more fucking time to take you through some more tips and tricks and shit like that. But unfortunately, we don't. And again, this is something you guys will continue to train on, and I highly recommend you do your own fucking research on it. If you don't own a copy of it, try and find a copy of the fucking Ranger Handbook somewhere online. It has some great fucking sections when it comes to breaching and clearing of buildings, who's covering what sectors, who goes where, whether it's a corner door or a center wall door, shit like that. You can also do some basic fucking research when it comes to buildings and housing, all right? If you know the general size of an entry door being 36 inches, you can base the size of that face wall upon that entry door or those windows and know generally how big that facing wall is and base the size of the rest of the house off that wall, because you're going to be, if you just sit there and become stagnant, you're dead. If you allow the enemy to fix your location, you are fucked. You need to continuously fire, maneuver, relocate, especially in mount. You cannot allow the enemy to fix your position. All right? You guys tracking?
Yes, for Sergeant.
Sergeant.
All right. And that's going to be it for you guys for day 2. All right. Or sorry, day 3. Now we'll be back at it tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel for day 4. We'll get some fill-ins to come in here for your FTX. We'll go through, do your training exercise, evaluate how you guys do, and then move on to your quiz after that. All right, any questions before I dismiss you?
No, for Sergeant.
Negative for Sergeant.
All right, outstanding. That's it. You guys are dismissed. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday afternoon. All right, guys. That is going to be it. And yes, exactly. Shoot, move, communicate, sustain, and survive. All right. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today. There was a bunch of follows that I wasn't able to thank you guys. Thank you very much for all of the follows. Just to give you guys a quick update, we're up to, I think it was 387 right now for the raffle for the 1070. So that total is getting up there. We're definitely getting close to that point. I think by the end of the month we will we'll definitely be able to give away more than just the 1070. So right now I'm looking at giving away the 1070 is the main prize. The second prize is chosen at random. Everybody that donates is given a number, and I will use Google to randomly pick a number. Everybody has the same odds. So hopefully some of you guys will get involved with that. I would love to be able to fucking give back to you guys. And yeah, that's going to be it. We'll be back at it later today. I'm sure me and Drum will be playing some more Divinity. And thank you guys for hanging out. I will see you all later.